Ever wonder what inspires your
And you are welcome to hashtag. This is where you get all what is trending online, especially on X. My name is Vivian and I'm not flying solo, guys. I've got Ikechukwu and together we are going to take this very fast ride today, which happens to be the very last edition of hashtag for this week. Ikechukwu, how are you?
Good evening, Vivian.
Yes. TGIF.
Good evening to our viewers.
You look very excited though.
Very excited.
Something going down this weekend?
Yes.
Aha.
A lot.
Tell me about it later.
Okay.
Guys, it is hashtag Justice Binta Nyako. She's the one trending. I'm wondering, why is she the one trending? Why is it not hashtag Senator Natasha? But hey, in a short while, you're going to know why she is trending. You know her, right? She's very popular. Well, she just slammed a 5 million naira contempt fine. Yeah, a fine against Senator Natasha Akpoti-Odoanga for contempt. What kind of contempt was she talking about? She was asked, you remember the senator, she has a case in court against the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, right? Sexual harassment and all of that. So while these cases were in court, as well as some other ones instituted by the Senate President as well as the federal government, the court had asked Senator Natasha not to grant any interview or make any kind of public statement relating to the matter. But she went online and did a satirical apology, and Justice Binta Nyako found this contemptuous, right? So she was asked to pay 5 million naira. But would you say that was a slap on the wrist and saying, go, don't do it again? Now, the big gist is that the court actually, Justice Binta Nyako, asked the Senate to recall Senator Natasha Akpoti-Odoanga, and that her 6-month suspension was excessive. Now, Ikechukwu, I don't know what you think about this. The word excessive, Justice Binta Nyako didn't say it was wrong. She said it was excessive, right? I don't know what you think about that. But let me take you, are you going to say something before we go to X? Well, guys, let's go to X, yeah? Find out how this particular hashtag is going down. Basically, it's just, you know, for you to get a clearer picture of what is happening. Instablog Niger says the Federal High Court in Abuja has found Senator Natasha Akpoti-Odoanga guilty of contempt and fined her 5 million naira over a Facebook post directed at Godswill Akpabio. Justice Binta Nyako, who delivered the ruling on Friday, said the senator violated a standing court order that barred all parties from commenting on an ongoing case regarding her suspension from the Senate. The controversy stemmed from a satirical apology Akpoti-Odoanga posted on April 27, 2025, which Akpabio argued was a breach of the gag order. Now, his lawyers filed a contempt application claiming the post was related to the suspension case. Akpoti-Odoanga's legal team, denied this, stating the post concerned unrelated allegations of sexual harassment against Akpabio. But the judge disagreed, ruling that the post was connected to the court's matter at hand. And as part of the punishment, the court ordered the senator to issue a public apology in 2 national newspapers and on her Facebook page within 7 days, in addition to paying the 5 million naira fine. So it's not just about the fine now. It's also about the senator issuing a public apology in 2 national newspapers and on her Facebook page. Let's take a look at the next post on X. So Atiku Abubakar now says, I commend Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court Abuja for the courage in lifting the obnoxious suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Odoanga, Kogi Central. I also hail Senator Akpoti-Odoanga for challenging the illegality of her suspension by not sleeping on her rights in the chamber where women are already vulnerable. There's no price that is too great in asserting one's rights. AA, very popular signature. There's another one, let's take a look at it. So Honorable Mohammed Kumalia says, thank you for speaking up so boldly, AA. Justice Binta Nyako's ruling is a win, not just for Senator Natasha Akpoti-Odoanga, but for democratic principles and the rights of women in politics. It's inspiring to see such resilience and refusal to accept injustice quietly. This moment sends a powerful message that the rule of law still holds and that no voice, especially that of a woman in leadership, should be silenced unjustly. MK. One last tweet and then Ikechukwu will have a go at this particular one now. So, a chairman of Africa says, has Justice Binta Nyako ever passed an unbiased judgment? That had you going, yeah.
I was about, I
really?
was expecting it, yeah.
You were expecting this? How
really
come?
expecting.
How come?
I mean, going by her antecedents,
Yeah.
in Nnamdi Kanu's trial, and of course, she's, the wife of a politician, right? And one of the allegations, that was leveled against her, while in Nnamdi Kanu's trial was that she has been given a mandate to convict him because, of course, his husband was actually having an EFCC
Her husband.
Her husband was having an EFCC.
So these were allegations.
Yes, allegations. So and then back and forth, right? And looking at how she actually handled this.
And then Nnamdi Kanu asked her to recuse herself, which she eventually did. Yeah, I just wanted also.
Even before then, right? I could remember clearly before he came back, before he was renditioned, he actually told her that I want to come back to face my trial, and she told him that I want to come back to face my trial. I need your assurance I will be safe. And she said, hey, the only place that is safe in this country is the prison.
All right.
And Nnamdi Kanu said, okay, you can go there, right? Go stay in the prison. But that was her, right? Now in this case, when I first saw the ruling, how she actually told Natasha.
Can you just hold your horses? Yeah, just pause a bit. Now don't forget your thought.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back. You're referring to what the justice said about. Yeah. So I want for us to take a look at this last tweet by Desmond, and then we'll talk about Justice Nyako. Let's go back to X. Desmond now put up this very interesting tweet. And he says, kudos to Justice Binta Nyako for upholding justice and to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan for courageously defending her rights. A big win for democracy and women in leadership. Now back to you, Ikechi.
Yeah, first, I really commend her for actually, saying that the idea of her being banished from the Senate is.
You're commending Justice Binta Nyako
for that, because of course, I mean, there's no reason why she should be, banished from the assembly, right? I mean, if you have a case and you're saying this is what happened to me, I think a proper investigation should be made, and then if what her allegations were, was proven guilty, then of course she can then be, if she was found wanting for alleging that the Senate president was trying to harass her sexually, then of course we can now agree that okay, there's a case and then she can be banished. But before that, you cannot suspend someone who is making an allegation. It does not actually make any sense. But back to what I was saying before. Now, I mean, the fact that Senator Natasha, who is actually very much a woman in the National Assembly, for me, I don't see a reason why she has to even slam her with 5 million naira fine for
contempt.
For that contempt, right?
Explain yourself.
Okay, so I mean, the court gave.
There was a gag order.
The court gave a ruling, right? Yeah. And while this gag order was on, the Akpabios of this world were actually making comments as regards I didn't do it.
But Akpabio himself didn't see anything.
No. At what point was
during the gag order, if you watch critically, the Senate president didn't say anything.
At what point was this gag order made? Because all of them at every point, were asked questions. Yes, they were asked questions, right? And if you read her letter, right? Her letter was not, saying that, hey, you actually sexually harassed me.
God.
She was just
sarcasm.
Yes, she was just playing with words.
It was satire. She was definitely no. If you understand what satire is,
I understand what the satire is. What I'm saying is, she was just saying, hey, I should have done this instead of this. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't have been suspended. For me, what I saw in those her comments was simple. That okay, if I had done this, maybe I wouldn't have been suspended. She was speaking to her suspension. This is what I saw. She wasn't actually really speaking to her to sexual harassment.
If you were her lawyer in court today, probably would have been very interesting to see you try to convince Justice Binta Nyako.
You remember the words, right? You remember the wordings of that letter.
Mm-hmm. She was quite lengthy.
Yes, she was actually saying that, okay, I would have done this, and perhaps if I have done this, as as a woman.
She was actually nailing the coffin. She was just closing it with the nails. Bah, bah, bah. That was what she was doing, basically. That's how I say it.
Wait.
But so you're saying in a nutshell that the justice shouldn't have fined her?
No, the 5 million naira, it's way too much. It's way too much for. I don't know why she actually did that, but
it's just 5 million. She's a senator, so it's just like.
That's the thing. Now it goes back to who the character of the person is. Justice Binta Nyako is more of a political lawyer. I'm a judge, right? I don't know, but every single time a big politician is actually in the fray, if she's the one handling the case, for me personally, right, I cannot really trust her judgment, and this is exactly what it has proven. All right. I just hope at the end of
you don't trust her judgment.
I won't trust her judgment.
Okay, so
I won't trust she will not tilt towards where the political power is.
Ironically, though, well, maybe to buttress your point, maybe it's not ironical. People like Atiku Abubakar are the ones that are commending her. Big politicians, like you just said, say, well done for what you just did. But the thing is, regardless of that, she's trending online now. And people are saying, well done for fighting for democracy and the women. Would you say this was a win for Senator Natasha?
It's not yet a win.
It's not yet, yes, right? There's still something.
The case is still very
much. The federal government still has to sit against her.
The case is still very much, the case is still very much in court. This is just, you go back to the Senate and go be part of, Now she's going back to the Senate, right? If she goes back to the Senate, does it mean that she will not talk?
Well, that's the thing.
Again, these are the questions.
So this is one of the things that Justice Binta Nyako said, that the Senate will have to revisit its disciplinary rules, and also that Natasha's constituents must not be denied a voice in the Senate anymore, right? And that the senator also really did not violate, whatever. And then basically she said the Senate is violating its own privileges.
So for the Senate to have violated its own privilege, right?
Yeah.
It means that they've erred. And they've erred against someone.
Oh.
Why is she not finding?
Yeah, but somebody will have to institute that case against the Senate. I don't know if it's one of the cases that the Senator Natasha has instituted against the Senate. But if someone institutes that case against the Senate, maybe Justice Nyako will probably do a ruling against the Senate.
All right, let's hope that it's going to happen.
Yeah, before we wrap this up, though, I told you earlier on when she said the 6-month suspension was excessive. What does it mean?
It goes back to
she didn't say it wasn't wrong. She just said it was excessive.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were saying, right? It goes back to what we were saying about the character of the person who is actually handling the case. Now, what does the Senate rule even say about this?
That's the thing. So
again, right? But now it's obvious that for whatever reason, even if the Senate rule says that you can actually suspend a serving senator for doing X, Y, Z, did she actually infringe on that? Did she actually commit a crime to be suspended in the first instance? Talk more of it being the case of being excessive.
All right.
These are the questions we'll be asking.
Absolutely. And this matter is going to, in fact, this is just the beginning, right? I see this hashtag trending for a number of days, maybe over the weekend. And if it does, we'll come back here on Monday to give you the update. We move on now to the next hashtag, which is hashtag Peter Obi. So the politician is trending. He put up a post online about the coalition, which he has become a part of, the ADC. By the way, guys, you remember that his party, which is split into factions now, the Julius Abure-led faction had come out to say they are giving him a 48-hour ultimatum to resign from the Labour Party since he's declared an interest in the ADC. But the Nenadi Usman faction has come out to say that Obi took permission from us, so guys, leave him alone. Now, but why is Obi trending today online? He's talking about the ADC, and then one of his loyalists, really, Aisha Yusufu, is saying that if it's not Peter Obi, she will fight with everything she's got to ensure that that party fails. Now, let me take you to X so that you take a look at what I'm saying precisely. We start with Peter Obi's post on X. Peter Obi, yesterday, the coalition members formally adopted the African Democratic Congress ADC for the 2027 Nigeria general elections, with distinguished Senator David Mark serving as the national chairman and His Excellency Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola serving as the national secretary. Our commitment is to sacrifice and work together towards the 2027 general elections, ensuring that Nigeria gets a competent, capable, and compassionate leadership that will prioritize the nation's future by putting the welfare of Nigerians first. He goes on to say that this decision was not made lightly. It comes from deep reflection on where we are as a country and what must be done to move forward. No one group can change Nigeria alone. To dismantle the structures that keep our people in poverty and insecurity, we must build bridges, not walls, even when those bridges are uneasy. A new Nigeria is possible, PA. Now, when he said no one group can change Nigeria alone, do you think he was referring to the obedient movement?
Yes, he was actually very well. Obedient movement. He was also referring to even ethnic nationalities across board, because of course it's going to be a handshake across the Niger. It's also going to be the people who are actually rich, and of course the one that is, I don't think we have reasonable amount of middle class today. So it's just the rich and the poor. So it's going to be bridge across board to actually come together to actually change. So that's exactly what it means by no one group.
Take a look at what he said, that we must build bridges, not walls, even when those bridges are uneasy.
I mean, one of the highlights of this particular phrase is that you remember the last election, run-up to the last election, where Arufai described him as an actor.
Nollywood actor.
So those are actually very sensitive statements, and this quite buttresses that. I mean, it's quite uneasy to actually see him holding hands with Arufai now.
We saw the picture.
But then, of course, you have to look at the bigger picture. Even if you guys are not really ideologically the same, but you have to look at the common goal. A classical example is symbiotic relationship between a buffalo and a bird that perches on the back of the buffalo. Why it also helps clean the body of the buffalo, and of course gets its
okay. So for perspective, symbiosis is the relationship between a host and a parasite.
Yes, basically.
They both benefit from each other.
Yes, you guys just have to actually find a common ground to work together so that the bigger picture can be achieved.
Interesting analogy, though. So there was this thing you just said about him and El-Rufai, making a solid front online. We saw the pictures. Yeah. Now, there was this tweet, in fact, a couple of them on X, where it's a video. You see El-Rufai making way for Peter Obi. Like someone now said, like he's his personal bodyguard now. Like they've become besties and all of that. It shows you the nature of politics in Nigeria.
Yes, I mean,
and all of that.
It shows, the nature of politics. It also shows, what exactly it means to actually make concessions, so that you can actually get what you want. It also shows that in the act of war, sometimes the person who you see as your biggest enemy might be your biggest asset in achieving your goal. And of course, you remember not even just El-Rufai, remember Dino Melaye as well, right? I mean, in the run-up to 2014 election, Peter Obi was very much in the Jonathan's camp. Of course, you remember he was part of the economic team. And why the likes of Dino Melaye were very much in the opposition, the APC at that point, trying to actually bring that opposition that would oust the government. And of course, one of the things that Dino Melaye said, right, why he was introducing Peter Obi was talking about anywhere he moves, there's exodus, hurricane, and all of that.
I mean, you make me regret not bringing that video now. I was considering bringing it and all that. It was glowing what Dino said about El-Rufai.
That's why people always say that in politics there's no permanent friend, there's no permanent enemy. It's just the interest that will always bring you guys together. And that's exactly what Peter Obi is saying. I mean, just forget about what's happening at this point. What you should concentrate on is the kind of bridge you want to build.
Absolutely. But someone like Aisha Yusufu, I'm not sure if she's listening to this thing he's saying about building bridges.
She's not a politician.
Well, but she's a Peter Obi loyalist. In fact, let's prove that. What? She's an activist, a socio-political activist. Let me take you to X, really, so you take a look at what Aisha Yusufu is saying, basically. I'll put up the tweet first, and then we'll take a look at the video. So Ayofe says, if Peter Obi becomes a running mate to anyone in 2027, I will work against that ticket in my little capacity, Aisha Yusufu. So Ayofe put up the video. Credit goes to him. Take a look.
Conversation where everyone is sort of like, so let me go back to the Mr. Peter Obi conversation where everyone is sort of like, oh, where these people are like, he should run as vice. Me, and I'm giving you people my word now. No talk, no talker. If Peter Obi is running with anyone, as the vice president of that, as the running mate to that person, me, Aisha Yusufu, in my little, I'm not saying that I have any influence, so I'm not saying that I'm one big anything. In my little capacity, I will work against that ticket. If that's the only thing, even if I don't support any other person, is to work against that whatever ticket that I will. Because what is this? Why are we always asking the best to be second? They've turned Peter Obi to the case of the way they put a woman, the way they put women in Nigeria. They will always put you in the deputy position, deputy whatever position. That's where they always put you. Nothing else. Deputy this, deputy that, running mate. I'm sure the other time I said to them, even if it's a goat that is running for president, you people will put Aisha Yusufu as vice. Because as far as you are concerned, as I'm a woman, automatically you see me as vice and nothing else. That cannot, we cannot have that situation. Peter will be right now. You talk about empathy, you talk about somebody who cares, somebody who.
Okay,
so let me go back to.
She talked about women always taking second place and all of that. But basically, the gist of the matter is, if you make Peter Obi anybody's running mate, she's not going to have any of it.
I said before that she's not a politician, and this is why, you know, I said it the other day that good people, politics is not meant for good people.
Well, so I want to get it. You're calling her a good person?
I mean, people who think like this, you know, you look at them and say, okay, this person is an activist. Okay, I mean, you can, because politicians.
You'll be shocked what people are saying now regarding this particular video. Yeah.
Right, understands the act of power. Now that power can actually, you can actually serve the devil to actually get to the kingdom of God. That's how politicians think, right? And sometimes, you know, you just have to work with who you are not comfortable with. Yeah. And if she's actually a loyal person to Peter Obi, she definitely will want to follow through. But it's obvious that she's not a politician and she's not loyal, but she just have a good heart that, okay.
No, she's loyal to Peter Obi. She said it, that she's loyal to him.
If you want to work against the ticket that he's in, you're not loyal to him.
She's loyal to the individual and not the party.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you're loyal to the individual, you follow the individual.
Whatever he does.
Whatever he does.
Well, that's your definition of loyalty.
But again, right? Even if, because this is what I'm saying, even if you say, okay, I don't like the fact that, you know, you're the second, I'm not going to vote. It's fair not to work against the person. That's where I'm saying.
But she's saying she's going to work
against it. So that's
a very good point.
Yeah. So, yeah. But for the man Peter Obi, right? I understand the whole, you know, pressure, right? Peter Obi has proven to be, you know, a political behemoth at this point. He's proven that yes, I can actually, you know, obstruct the system. He did it in 2023, yeah. And that's why he's being respected now. Now we are at the position of, you know, you want to actually take out a government. Now look at the numbers that this last government pulled. Look at the number Peter Obi pulled. We have only one person in the ADC coalition and that pulled, almost the same number, but better number. That's Atiku Abubakar. That's around 6.9, you know, and what Peter Obi 6.1. Now if you look at the numbers and then you say, okay, Atiku Abubakar has been the vice president before. You know, he's the biggest political figure there. Now then we look at Peter Obi, and because he's a governor, right? He's been a governor, and we also have other governors in the house, right? And like of David Mark also there. Now, if Atiku Abubakar is, you know, stepping aside, that okay, I'm not going to run, right? Or perhaps they decide to actually zone the one-term ticket to the south, then of course Peter Obi's got a good shot. I mean, I don't think anybody will expect, you know, Amechi to actually come before Peter Obi in that order because of the number and his base.
It's interesting you said that because Amechi is the next hashtag.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about him the next hashtag. So you were saying that if Atiku decides
to step aside,
and it looks like it might be it, because see, take a look at the body language. Atiku has not been saying anything since the formation of ADC.
He's a big man. He rarely talks.
He's just sitting, and then he's come out to say that himself and El Rufai are reviewing the one-term, you know, proposal that Peter Obi presented. And then we see El Rufai holding Peter Obi's hands. El Rufai is one with Atiku. He's showing Peter Obi around and on. Don't you think that's a subtle statement to say the pendulum is probably swinging to Peter Obi?
You know,
and Atiku might stay back.
I think the very first, I think it was earlier last week or maybe on Monday, we're having this conversation about, you know, Peter Obi being the likely person, where we're talking about Tamboa as well. You know, that's more like the most likely, you know, situation if Atiku step aside. It's going to be Peter Obi and Tamboa. I mean, it's just 4 years, right? Okay, send your lieutenant to do it, and then afterwards, you know, come back to the north. I think that's going to be the political calculation. But the big question here is this, right? The people who are actually following Peter Obi, whatever the case, this coalition has to work. I don't know if it's going to be Peter Obi spearheading the ticket or someone else. It has to work throughout this government. Talking
about Peter Obi spearheading the ticket or how the coalition is going to work, Rotimi Amaechi is saying also that if you give him the ticket, he's going to do one term and go. So he's inadvertently saying, I'm game. Next hashtag, guys, is hashtag Amaechi. Let me take you to X. So we'll find out exactly what he said regarding this particular hashtag. Yeah, Rotimi Amaechi is former transport minister and also former governor of Rivers State. He's also Nyesom Wike's ex-wild godfather. Trending Explained says, even military rule wasn't this bad. They did their illegalities in secret, but Tinubu's politicians do it openly and you all do nothing. This is actually the second tweet I wanted us to talk about. There's the very first one of him talking about wanting to run. That's it. So Port Harcourt people put up this tweet of Rotimi Amaechi on a televised interview, and he says, I'll only serve one term if given ADC ticket. Right Honorable Rotimi Amaechi. What does this mean though? Is he saying, you guys, watch out, this is going to be a contest? That's taken from the book of Daniel, right?
So the handwriting is already on the wall. Absolutely. He's saying it that, the most the thing that will appeal the North the most is this one term ticket. If you're willing to actually jump on it, then of course we can have a conversation. It's going to be a case of who they can trust now between Peter Obi and Rotimi Amaechi. And also, while thinking about that, they also have to look very well critically at who's got the strongest base. Of course, Peter Obi is undeniably has the strongest base. If they give the tickets to Rotimi Amaechi, will Peter Obi's fan support base stay? Would they decide to actually still follow Amaechi? Would there be voter apathy? Because that's exactly what they will not want. They want that hurricane that accompanied Peter Obi in 2023 to follow follow the ADC in 2027. So again, it's going to be a very tricky conversation. That and we're looking at possibility of Atiku Abubakar stepping aside, right? So it's going to be Peter Obi and Rotimi Amaechi from the south. These are the biggest faces in that particular coalition at this point from this part of the world. And Peter Obi is most likely going to get it if he gets to that point, because of course he's shown his strength even in the north. He's shown his strength in the north central. These north central are very welcoming of his person. They love him. He's shown that he kind of actually relates to their pain. Anytime something happens, he goes there. Yeah. So I think it's going to really be the best bet.
It was actually in Yelwater though. Yes. Regardless of the flooding and all of that.
So it's going to be the best bet for them. Of course, it's quite interesting that we are saying it. This is pointing to one direction. It's saying that the north. This is where the beginning of conversation. This is the beginning of bargain for them. If you're willing to actually do this, then we can have a conversation. And perhaps, with all of this flying around now, you see that in coming days, the likes of Atiku Abubakar might just step back and say, you know what, let's just have it. And it now begs the question, right? After 4 years, Atiku will be over 80, right? Will he still be willing to run? We're looking at...
Yeah, and I talked about it.
This is about 6 years from now, right, if it happens. So will he still be willing to run, right? I mean, over 80, are you going to be running? But hey, Atiku looks fit, he looks very sane, but 6 years is a lot of time. Yeah. You can't really tell what's going to happen in the political space. And of course, who they will most likely trust between Peter Obi and Rotimi Amaechi to keep his voice. And another thing, Amaechi is a seasoned politician. He's been a politician almost all his life. I mean, 8 years Speaker of Rivers State House of Assembly. He became a governor for 8 years. He moved to became a minister. So he's always... And
he's got former President Buhari's ears.
Yes, he's always been, in the corridors of power. So will they trust him? Because this man... So
it's about trust.
It's actually not different from Nyesom Wike in terms of, how they can actually handle power.
Wow.
Yes.
So you're thinking it's no small thing for Amaechi to throw his heart in the ring.
Yeah, it's no small thing. But the thing is, will the Northerners trust him to actually keep his word? Because he understands he loves power. Let me use that word.
Which is what Nyesom Wike said about him.
He loves power. Let's talk about Peter Obi doesn't really look like someone who loves power.
So some people have said if Peter Obi doesn't love power, if he's not desperate for power, why is he gallivanting from one party to the other, basically?
So
from the LP, from the PDP to the LP, and now to the ADC and all of that. What does that speak to?
Politicians, you know, if you see a politician who really love power, you understand that this man is, you know, a core politician. Amechi is an example, a classical example of a core politician. Before Peter Obi became a governor, he was very much in the business sector. He left the government house. Ever since, he went back to business. That is who, I mean, you look at him, he's more like, you know, 70% administrator and 30% politician. For the likes of Amechi, right, they've been politicians all their life. Yeah. And, I mean, look at him, you know that, you know, this man is about 80% politician and maybe perhaps 20% businessman. So you cannot compare, you know, their love, you know, or their hunger for power. Yes, Peter Obi really wants to make change. I mean, that's what he's been saying. Yeah. But, you know, the way he's actually been around the corridors of power and what he's been doing every time he's in the corridors of power will tell you exactly who the kind of person he is.
So what I hear you say now is the North is likely to trust Peter Obi more than the old Amechi.
Absolutely.
You also say that Peter Obi has probably done his homework. I mean, when talking about the North Central and how he's very empathetic towards their pains when it comes to insecurity. He was in Plateau, he was in Benue, as well as other regions of the country as well. And he's got that going for him as well. So we are keeping our fingers crossed as regards this particular one. Another person that is trending online is El Rufai. So the next hashtag, guys, is hashtag El Rufai. I don't know what's up. He seems to be always trending. And it's a case of good and bad, for and against. Basically today it looks like Aisha Yusuf and some other ones are pulling stuff about him from the past and they're holding it against him. Let me take you straight to X. I'll pull up this tweet about former FCT minister, former Kaduna State Governor. Ikechukwu is just shaking his head and I'm wondering what's happening to you. So this is Aisha Yusufu again. And he says, Nasir El Rufai has a nuisance value. His anger and vindictiveness, and you think I will not use that? Let me laugh in 3D. And she says it with exclamation marks. She goes on to say, you think nation building is a romantic affair? And this is sarcasm, I can tell you. I am okay with looking bad while you look good. Now, this reminds me of what Dati Baba Ahmed's elder brother has said not too long ago, that yeah, El Rufai can make it work if he can keep his ego in check. So apparently Aisha Yusufu's words are weightier than what Ahmed Baba had said. But another Ahmed Baba, this time around Dati, who is talking, is serious what he's saying about El Rufai. Take a look at this next tweet, what Dati Ahmed Baba is saying. So, hashtag our favorite online dog says, I remember everything between El Rufai and many other leaders whom he now goes and kneels down before to greet. I'm gasping for air. I don't understand what is going on. There are people who have been in government for 24 years and they've been out for only 2 years, yet they are crying and shouting that we must throw this government out. That is Dati. He was on a televised interview. This is throwing a jab at El Rufai. What do you think is happening? Dati has been outspoken. He said stuff about the ADC. He says he's going to support the party. He's looking at it. He might support the coalition, but he's still a member of the LP. He's also talking about El Rufai and talking about the group, the makeup of the ADC. He sounds displeased.
Yeah, very well.
So let's talk about hashtag El Rufai, Dati, and Aisha Yusufu.
So in a kingdom, in a palace, right? You know, no matter how beautiful a palace is, right? I mean, the king will not, clear his own grass, water his own garden, clear his own sewage.
No, he's got
there are people who are men.
Workers, yeah.
I don't want to even look at it from a position of servant. I'm looking at people who will definitely take care of the dirty work. Ah. Right. Now, this is
foot soldiers.
Yeah, yeah. This is alluding to what what's it called? Aisha Yusufu said, that he's got a nuisance value. The thing is this, right? That's
a serious thing to say.
See, every political group, right? In fact, every team, every organization needs, a hothead. This is me putting it right, because you know what? if everybody is cold, there's a chance that somebody from outside, right, is definitely going to take it for granted. I'll give you an example. There's a saying in Igbo language that, they say when when you
do you want to say it in Igbo, then maybe you remember what you're trying to say. Yeah.
So buodike mbosu ogo ichobadike. That means, they say you should kill your own strong man, because just push him aside, because this guy is too difficult to deal with. It doesn't make sense. He's arrogant. He's a nuisance. But when the battle comes, you start looking for your own, madman. That's the word exactly. Right. Now, the role El-Rufai is playing or will play, that is played also in 2024, 2014 running to the 2015 election, is exactly the same role Nyesom Wike is playing. A disruptor, someone who is everywhere, someone who you see, and sometimes when you just see him, his presence drains your energy. These are the kind of
that's really
yes. So these sort of persons are needed in different groups, so that when you come out and this person come out and say, oh, okay, we can have a conversation. You have it, I have it. Right. Exactly what people like El-Rufai brings. He might not bring all of the votes, but trust him.
I think the right word, like you said, is disruptor.
Yes.
He's a disruptor.
So trust him to actually, be there to actually protect the vote. I think that's the right word. Protect the vote. Do everything to do everything it takes for the group to win. Yeah. And that's exactly. So later we're going to be having a conversation about why he's actually, turning his back on the APC. Is it because he actually lost, the
maybe after 2027.
But whether he got the opportunity or not, this is the character of the person. This is who he's always been. And I like the fact that he's been very consistent.
Very, because he was also very instrumental to bringing his current president on board.
That's what I'm saying. So
he was the one that galvanized the North together.
He's been very consistent.
You do remember that the Bola Tinubu colloquium, which marks his birthday annually, that particular year where El-Rufai lost his son, this current president cancelled that colloquium.
Yeah.
You know what he did? He traveled to Kaduna.
Absolutely.
That's I'm sure that was what moved him.
No, see,
that was some master chess moves.
Very well.
I can tell you. Now he swayed El-Rufai, and somehow he's pushed him away, and now El-Rufai is bent on bringing him down. And you're saying the man might just do the job. That's what you're saying.
El-Rufai is born for stuffs like this. If you've been following him over the years, you know that he's very tough. When he was also the FCT minister, you recall a lot of things that happened.
Absolutely.
He doesn't care when he takes decision, when he takes a position, he's very consistent at it. And when I think one of the reasons why someone like Dati, why Peter Obi actually lost the election was also because he really doesn't have someone in 2023. He really doesn't have someone who whose appearance actually inspire fear in 2023 election. Now there are a lot of persons who can actually, change the course of things with their presence, and El-Rufai is just one of them. I know he's going to come with, a lot of persons who dig up tweets, dig up, statement that he's made, but he's never going to take it back.
Yeah, he's El-Rufai.
He's El-Rufai, and
he's going to keep doing what he's doing. Who he is. As we wrap up this particular hashtag up, what do you think is going on with Dati? Is he displeased? Is he disgruntled? Does he feel like he's been slighted?
Okay, so we looking at his antecedents and his disposition in the public space, I think he's still very much the same person. This is why. Before he ventured into becoming Peter Obi's running mate, of course he's been a senator before he was thrown out of the Senate, but he's very much a businessman. He runs a private university, and for someone who is running an academic place, institution, they come with a certain level of reasoning, and that's exactly why he's been the way. Yes,
I like what you're saying. He said something that the ADC is currently playing Tinubu's game, and he said that's what he said. He said until they change that mindset, it might not work.
Well, it's still very early to call.
Oh, okay.
We still have 2027. There's a year between now and 2027 to actually decide whether the coalition will work. The coalition will work or not. But the truth is, his personality is thinking from a business front. Yes, he's definitely going to feel some kind of way that I was once the running mate of this man. I'm still a northerner, so there's no way I can't even still balance this ticket if you guys can all support us, but of course, when it comes to making concessions like this, P2B has to shed something, and perhaps it's going to be one of those collateral damage from his own end.
And Peter Obi himself said it. There must be sacrifices, right, and all of that. Who knows? Maybe Dati might be one of those people that will have to chill a bit to ensure that this opposition movement works. Now, the last hashtag for today is hashtag Bayo Onanuga. Now, the presidential spokesman is venting. He's trying to tear the ADC to tatters. It looks like the presidency is jittery, right? So what does this say? Is the ADC the very party that is going to shake the APC to its core? Let's find out what Onanuga is saying. We go to X now and pull up that particular tweet by a presidential spokesperson by Onanuga. And he says some members of the hijacked ADC who were reported as members of the APC left the APC years and months ago. Let the public not be deceived by the opposition's narrative about their relevance or whether the APC will mourn their departure. Rotimi Amechi's soul left the APC in 2022 after losing the presidential primary to President Tinubu. Abubakar Malami, the former Attorney General, has never hidden his estrangement from the APC since Tinubu assumed leadership and since he lost the governorship bid in Kebbi. Hadi Sirika, now with the ADC, that's a former aviation minister, is facing trial for contract splitting and other allegations. I'm sure it's about the Air Nigeria thing.
Yeah.
And then he says the renegade Rauf Aregbesola committed anti-party activities in the last Osun election and was expelled as an unfit APC member. It was quite lengthy epistle, but I just took this snippet. Now, the tone of it though is the APC jittery. It's the presidency beginning to shake in its boots.
Absolutely, and this for this post, right? I'll just say, let he who is without sin pick this first stone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I remember, why they were trying to form the APC back then. The first time the image of all of them, gathered in a particular place. The big question, we're asking that, what changed? These guys all have, depth in them, and of course they form a political party. I remember very well the then former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode, who was very much, in Jonathan's camp at the point, was actually calling them all sorts of names, saying so many things about them. Yes, that's the sound, of a jittery government, and now they are in that position.
Yeah.
Now he's actually speaking. This is the last kick of a dying horse. If that coalition works, trust me, there's no way they're going to come back.
Last kick of a dying horse. I picked that one. Take a look at the last paragraph. He talked about Rauf Aregbesola. You do know what he did against Dr. Abiodun, who happens to be a minister now.
Of course.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. So he...
Dr. Abiodun, no, he's the governor of Ogun State.
He's the governor of Ogun State. This is Osun. Now, his successor, really, he fought against his coming back and all of that. Oyetola, thank you, who is the minister in this present administration. Oyetola, thank you so much. So, Aregbesola came out openly to say, I'm going to fight for your downfall. He did it, and that's what Bayo Onanuga is referring to as anti-party activity. That doesn't mean that he doesn't pull some weight.
No. When it comes to Osun politics, Aregbesola is quite weighty, right? He's got a very strong grassroots base. Yeah. Of course, remember he's one time, the Commissioner of Works in Lagos State under the Tinubu's government. So he's been around for a while. And the interesting thing about this is that, before the 2023 election, Aregbesola has always been away from the Tinubu camp. It's not like it just happened overnight. Before the 2023 election, he's been away from the Tinubu camp. In fact, there was a time he was actually talking, that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was accusing him of, supporting his cousin, why even to go against the rules of the party in Osun State. Of course, he was saying that Oyetola is the cousin of the current president at the point. At that time, so he was talking, and he was talking tough while the president was busy trying to actually put his house together to become the president of Nigeria at the point. So yes, that bad blood didn't just start today, and it's never going to end. Rauf Aregbesola is someone who is not known to back down, and his romance with El-Rufai has been long.
Yeah.
Since that particular time.
So this is not just
so when you have someone someone who used to be very close to you in your base now in the opposition camp, it says a lot about, you know, what's coming. But there are some other persons, you know, who is actually looking at it from another angle, saying that Rauf Aregbesola might just be a Trojan, right? Perhaps the president actually foresaw this and say, you know what, I need you to actually be there.
That's the conspiracy theory.
Yes, of course.
And I'm not buying that at all.
No, I'm not saying it's a possibility.
You know
politicians can be very, very funny.
I know, we are wrapping this one up now. But you say, basically, what I hear you say is the presidency is jittery. That's why they're throwing jabs at the ADC.
And we'll definitely get to see more of this when defection starts. Yeah,
so I wonder, Joe, a few seconds, someone like Lai Mohammed has been extremely quiet. Do you see him joining the coalition? Do you see Bukola Saraki, the likes of Bukola Saraki, joining the coalition? Few seconds as we wrap this up.
So the coalition is just, this is 2025.
Yeah.
When we get to December 2025, before March,
then you will see the real drama.
See a lot of persons. I told you two things is definitely bound to happen. Either the coalition fails or a lot of persons defect to the coalition.
That's what you said. Yes. I remember clearly. All right, this is a very good place for us to land, yeah? And we landed this plane safely from Monday to Friday. You've been fantastic all the way, Ikechukwu.
You've been amazing.
Thank you so much. And also to everyone who's contributed to making the show a success. Big thanks to you. But the bigger thanks goes to you guys for watching. Be sure to have a fantastic weekend ahead because I'm going to be asking you about it. Until then, do keep a date with us again, same time, same station for another edition of Hashtag. Bye.